Okay, it is time for activation number 2, the same day. So this is the Observation Peak trail that I'm starting on. Well, it's just called the Observation Trail. So let's get a look at the trailhead right here. Number 132. So it's on the same road network. I think a couple miles down from Timbered Peak, which was up that way. And it's about a mile and 700 feet of climbing to get up to not Observation Peak. I'm going to Sister Rocks. It is Sister Rocks where I'm going. And so it'll be a second activation. This time I'm bringing the 10 watt radio with my 2-meter Yagi, because the IC-705 will do 2-meter single sideband. And I'm gonna see if I can do some single sideband contacts into Portland. If I'm still up there at 7 p.m., which hopefully I'm not, but if I am, I'll try to do I'll try to check into the 2-meter single sideband nets. I'm realizing I shouldn't stay up there too much later because I don't have a headlamp with me. Okay, here we are. I'm right about to where I'm gonna turn off up to the Sister Rocks Trail. And handily, usefully, there is the sign for the Trapper Creek Wilderness right here. So that's a pretty good landmark for where you're getting pretty close to where you're gonna wanna take a right turn off of the trail. I'm gonna get me a picture of that sign, you know, if Facebook or it didn't happen. And it is just, yeah, like I said before, absolutely lovely forest up here. I really like it a lot. So totally worth it. Just the contrast alone between here and what you would have experienced near the bottom at the trailhead. It's a different forest. Now, of course, before the fire, all the forest was somewhat like this, but here we are. Okay, looks like we're going downhill a little bit here. I'm looking for the trail intersection. There it is. So just to show you what's happening, this is the trail intersection. So you're going to take a right up this trail if you came from the same trailhead I came from. And, you know, distance-wise, we're not very far in. Like, we're only about, what are we at? It's 1.13 miles and we've climbed 602 feet. So really not bad. And Soda Goat says that we have 114 feet of elevation remaining, 1,500 feet of distance remaining near activation zone. Pretty good deal. And it looks like it's fairly flat going forward here. So this looks like a pretty nice little activation spot, and a very different character from the activation I did earlier today of Timbered Peak, which should be called formerly Timbered Peak. Maybe we can call it Burned Timber Peak because it's had a fire on it. But the tread on this trail is in great shape, very good shape. The forest has had a canopy for a while, so there's not a lot of underbrush, just bare grass. It's just ubiquitous around here from about 3,000 feet up if you're on the west side of the Cascade Crest. Pretty neat stuff. Okay, if you're watching Soda Goat while you're climbing this, you'll see that like you actually reach the real summit a few hundred feet behind where I am at. And you feel the trail starting to go down and just keep going, and you wonder, does this go anywhere? This better go somewhere good. And then just when you're about to despair, you see it. Yes, it does go somewhere good. There's a nice exposure out here. I was like, because it says Sister Rocks, and I'm thinking, well, there better be some rocks out here. I wasn't looking forward to having to activate inside the brushy woods anyway. And here we go. We have a nice exposure. Oh, wow. There's Mount Hood over there. My goodness, that is a beautiful vista of Mount Hood. And then you can see all the leftovers of the burns of the gorge. That's a great view. Well, let's keep going here, but I have a suspicion that this one might have some VHF potential. Well, would you look at that? There's a post, a very tempting post. I guess it had something to do with a fire lookout at some point or something. I don't know. But yeah, this will do. I can figure out a place to set up an antenna here, I think. See if I can see over to Timbered Peak. I think if I just go around, I'm not gonna bother to go out down that. I'll probably get out the HT, see what kind of VHF contacts I can make. And then, yeah, I'll set up my antenna here. This will be pretty fun. Okay, I have my, I've got my 4-element Yagi set up along with my end-fed half wave. So I use the end-fed half wave and the guy wire to support this pole, this mast that then supports the portable Yagi coming down. I know 10 feet of RG-174 is the last thing I should be using for VHF, but here we are, okay? So just for the fun of it, I'm gonna leave it horizontally polarized, and I'm gonna see what, if I get anything on FM on 658, just because, you know, it's probably reflects off of so many things and stuff when it on its way out of here over to Portland, that I don't know if the polarization is gonna matter. So we'll find out if the polarization matters. So it's time for me to start spot myself and start calling CQ. Pretty good cell coverage up here, way better than the other summit. That's nice. Kilo Delta 7 Quebec Oscar Whiskey CQ Soda.
November Delta 7 Yankee.
All right, I've got November Delta 7 Yankee QSO.
At QSL, you're about a 3 and 3 to my house in Vancouver.
All right, copy the 3 and 3. I'm trying a horizontally polarized Yagi.
All right, yeah. I've got a diamond. What is it? The next 300 or so vertical up on my roof here.
All right, good. Well, you're a good 5 and 7 up here.
QSL to 5-7.
Thanks, and 7-3.
Same to you, Justin. ND7Y, clear.
Kilo Delta 7 Quebec Oscar Whiskey CQ Soda.
KD7 QOW, it's Kilo 7 Alpha Tango November. You're super scratchy. I'm not going to be able to make out words unless you can move to a spot where I sound good, and maybe then you'll sound good enough. Let's try it, K7ATN.
K7ATN, how does this sound?
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a 4-4 there, 44, pretty good.
All right, I just switched over to the HT. I just wanted to see if my horizontally polarized Yagi would work into Portland.
Well, if something's working into Portland, I'm glad to hear you. Thanks for being out. This is the end of the day, I hope, for you.
Yeah, this will be the end of the day, and then I'm gonna head back down. I might, if I'm still up here, I'll check into the single sideband nets.
That'd be a good idea, yeah. Super. Anyway, glad you're out. 7-3, K7ATN.
Thanks, and 7-3. Kilo Delta 7 Quebec Oscar Whiskey CQ Soda. So I got 2 FM contacts, same 2 I got on the other summit, and I had to use the HT to do it. So wow, polarization matters. At least at this distance, polarization definitely matters. The single sideband nets don't start for another 20 minutes, but I think they might forgive me since I'm on a summit. Maybe somebody will be out there, you know, starting up their radio or getting ready to go. So I'll go ahead and start calling. I'm gonna spot on 2 meter single sideband and see if I can get something, because I did put up an alert for that. So was that Alpha Charlie 7 uniform?
Alpha Charlie 7 November uniform.
Alpha Charlie 7 November uniform. Is that a QSO?
That's QSO. If you need a point, I'm happy to help out.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. Alpha Charlie 7 November uniform, right?
Yep, Alpha Charlie 7 November uniform, CN85, South Beaverton. November Romeo 7 Yankee.
I got a November Romeo 7 Yankee QSO.
Roger, I'm vertical.
Well, you're doing pretty darn good for vertical. Let me talk a little more. Let me see what you're doing on my S meter.
You're pretty far down there. You're about a 3.3, but I am making you out, and heard your previous contact there as well, so good enough.
Yeah, good enough indeed. I'm copying your 3.3, but I've got you at about a 5.3.
Roger, Roger the 5-3, Roger the 5-3. Thanks for activating on sideband there, Joseph.
Absolutely, and thanks for chasing on sideband.
7-3 at our 7Y.
Thanks in 7-3. All right, so that is a wrap on the activation of sister rocks now. So let's see what I did, how we did so far. Looks like I've got 13 entries in the log, which is not too bad. And so we've got two of those entries are 2 meter FM, and then 2 of those entries are 2 meter single sideband. The single sideband net I was able to barely check into, but it wasn't a QSO net, so it was more of a rag chew net. So I jumped out of that, and then I've got 5 contacts on 40 meter single sideband, a 17 meter single sideband, and 3 20 meter single sidebands. So not too bad for 10 watts. I went all the way out to Georgia on my last 40 meter, which is kind of insane, you know, for 40 meters on 10 watts to get from Washington to Georgia is doing pretty darn well. Let's take a look at my setup here. So I have, of course, my standard, I don't know, I kind of like call it my umbilical setup, right? The phone is running off of an umbilical cord here from the battery that runs the radio to get me to 10 watts, and the radio's sitting here. I just picked up this MAT 705 tuner. Even though I'm using an end-fed half wave, so I don't technically need it, it does help because I'm running single sideband. So when you're single sideband, you're usually a higher up in the frequency band, and that makes so that the half waves, or the harmonics on the end-fed half wave don't line up perfectly in the single sideband portions. So it helps to have this little tiny tuner. It's lightweight, it's small, and it's a nice little problem solver because sometimes the end-fed half wave can get unruly on single sideband. And then we come over here, same thing, linked end-fed half wave as usual. I'm using the fiberglass pole, which the fiberglass mast, this is the Soda Beams Mini, I think is what it's called. Yeah, Tactical Mini. And the Tactical Mini is absolutely a joy to use. I don't take too many activations because it's heavy. It weighs more than twice as much as the carbon fiber pole, but I bring it for single sideband activations because I can put my Yagi on it, which I already talked about. And so that's nice. I'm just using a little gum package to protect it from the, mast from the teeth on that Yagi mount. And then I use a 3-point guying system where one of the guys is a piece of string and then the other 2 guys are the antenna wires, and that's enough. I mean, if you get it balanced correctly, that's enough to hold up both the antenna mast, the wires, and hold up that Yagi. And that was kind of fun, pointing that Yagi around, listening to the different people on the net. We got a nice view to Mount Hood out there. Just a nice view over the mountains as the sun is setting. It is 7:30 p.m. right now, 7:34 p.m. on August 7th. So I've got about another hour of daylight, and I need to start packing up. So that's what I'm gonna do. But this was a very fun little hike. Just a bit over a mile and about 700 and some odd feet of elevation change. And there is a view of Helen's over there, but you can't see it because it's covered in clouds. It's got a little cloud hat on it. Anyhow, would recommend another successful activation, and there is VHF potential into the Portland area from here. Single sideband was a little bit challenging. Well, I would love to be able to be up here later in the day or very early in the morning to check into one of those nets from up here and see what happens. But I did get a couple single sideband contacts before the net started, which I kind of suspected that I would be able to lure some people in who are just, you know, who might have their radios on and be monitoring and looking at that that frequency chart, looking at that spectrum analyzer and seeing what's out there. So that being said, great, another fantastic summit, another one that I recommend. So 7.3, get out there, go play with your radio.